Things Wuthering Wave fans want in CBT 2. You know what's crazy about this? For a while there, I was really starting to believe that Wuthering Waves was going to fade into obscurity shortly after release. But with every single update happening on Wuthering Waves, I think it can actually be a pretty good contender. Unironically, I think this game will do quite well. How well, I'm not sure. But I actually think it will. We're going to have to see within the first month. The first month is very important. But I actually do think this game might have legs to stand on. If people truly want a combat Genshin, this is combat Genshin. The story that I played was shit. The characters look okay. A lot of the character design is pretty weak. There are some that are like high points, but I don't think there's any Wuthering Wave character that I think looks better than a Genshin or Honkai Impact character or Honkai Star Rail character. But the combat obliterates all three, like by far. Like it does. The combat does obliterate all three. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure what CBT2 was. I hate playing CBTs, but I guess we'll find out how it was.
Before we start the video, I want to wish you a happy new year, and I pray in Jesus' name that everything you want to do this year will be a success to you. Now, Wuthering Waves' first closed beta test happened on May 2023, and in my previous video, I speculated that by January 25th at TGS, we'll have an announcement for the next closed beta test. So, I wanted to, in this video, finally get to the second part of this series where we talk about the things that the fans want, and I compile them into one video so that if Wuthering Waves actually does announce the next closed beta test at TGS.
Okay, so here's what I'm wondering. Here's what I'm confused about. I thought this game was going to release in like February. Like, are we really still doing CBT? Have we really not moved on to open beta test? That's what I'm wondering. Like this game needs to release. Like it really does. Like this game has to come out before Zenless Zone Zero. It really does, because if Zenless Zone Zero comes out, then people aren't going to be really looking for a game with flashier combat. Like, this game needs to come out 100%. That being said, I don't want to rush it, but it does feel like it's going a little bit slower than I originally thought.
Please sign up for it, play it, and then look back at this video and see how much they've actually changed since that closed beta test.
For sure, I do also want to let anybody know watching this, the game looks much better. This video is just low quality. The game does look much better than what you're seeing.
So with that said, let's get into the video, shall we? Admittedly, when I was going to make this video, I wasn't thinking that I was going to talk about the Gacha first. I was expecting to talk about Endgame first.
Okay.
But then I went over to the official Reddit to look at the feedback for Closed Beta Test 1, and oh my god! The amount of comments about the Gacha.
What's wrong with it?
Goodness. It's like the most requested thing out of everything that all the fans
Well, what does that mean? The Gacha is the most requested thing.
I'm going to highlight one comment that I actually love.
Okay.
And it's from Argentum Bells. But before that, for those of you who are actually new to this, what is Gacha? Gacha is basically a system where you pay in a form of currency, be it real life money, in-game money, and then out of a selection of items, you will get one of those items at random. You don't know who doesn't know this. Deciding which one of those items you're going to get.
Well,
now,
in some
video games,
they
add some sort of pity system and a sort of selection system where you have a higher chance to get one of these things over the other. Now, why do people actually hate the Gacha in this game? It's because it's 100% a copy of what we have in Genshin Impact. Now, in Genshin Impact, you will have to pull...
I would agree that the Genshin and Honkai Star Rail Gacha system is very bad. It is. I feel like 90 pity is fucking insane. I do. I do feel like 90 pity is fucking insane. I'll just leave it at that. We don't need to go further.
89 times. If within 70...
There is a 180 pity, technically, worst case scenario, where guaranteeing one character can cost you up from $300 to $350 if you get unlucky, which I feel is fucking ridiculous.
6 to 89, you have not gotten the 5-star character. You are guaranteed to get a 5-star character at 90 pity. Now, if the 5-star character that you get is not the rate up character, that's not the character that you want to get, you can do another 90 pulls, and within those 90 pulls, you are now guaranteed to get that character that you want.
Now, obviously, this issue can be circumvented if they're more generous. Now, the reason why that system feels incredibly bad in Genshin is because they barely give you fucking anything. The reason why it feels less bad in Honkai is because they give you so many fucking pulls. I don't think this system is like beyond repair if they put it in Wuthering Waves, as long as they match or raise the amount of currency that you get in accordance to Honkai Star Rail's generosity. But we will see. The pity system entirely relies on how many free pulls you get. Like, for example, let's say there's a system, right, where one pull guarantees you the character that you want, and there's another system where every 1,000 pulls you get the exact character that you want. Like, on paper, clearly the first one seems better, but if it takes you 18 years to grind one summon for the first game and you get 10,000 summons every day in the other one, right, obviously we know which one's better. So it really depends on the generosity and the currency that we're getting in these games. I don't know how the fuck you even get money in Wuthering Waves. Maybe it's the same as Genshin, walk around and collect chests and some bullshit. I have no idea.
So in total, you can waste a maximum of 180 pulls to get one character that you actually
The problem is there's so many fucking dudes
want, which a lot of people hate, and I understand why. And a lot of people are expecting Wuthering Waves to go the same route as PGR, which is to be a lot more free-to-play friendly. Now, PGR has a more lenient system where it's like 60 pity, so you have to only pull 60 times.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but great things about PGR. The worst thing about PGR is their advertising team. That's the reason why PGR isn't more popular, and that might be the case for Wuthering Waves as well. I have not been reached out to be sponsored by the game, to represent the game, to play the game. I feel like Kuro Games' biggest issue is they're not fucking advertising enough. I don't want to see Wuthering Waves come out and flop because nobody fucking knows that it's coming out. Like, they need to be hyping this shit up drastically. Because, like, other than content creators who are making content out of the goodness of their own heart, I have seen literally zero advertising. And I mean literally zero.
Now, I've already said this before. Wuthering Waves is a bigger game, and I'm not expecting them to be as lenient in their gacha as they were in PGR. Now, someone can make an argument that PGR is not monetarily successful because they don't market their game as much. There's a valid argument there, but at the same time, if it's possible to farm all the currency that you need to guarantee yourself the next 5-star character or the next 6-star character within like 2 to 3 patches, or even one patch if you're actually very, very good at it, there's really no need for you to spend money in the game. True. And gacha games are designed to pull out as much money from you as they possibly can.
No, okay, so the way that a good gacha game should be designed is if a player is playing consistently, they can guarantee themselves the thing that they want. And they should also be designed where if lazy players who are busy want to get the thing that they should want, they can pay to get that thing so they don't miss out on it. Right? That's the way a good gacha is designed. So it rewards people who play every day and still offers people a solution who work too much and they can just pay their way to just get whatever they want. I think that that's fine.
So it doesn't...
As long as a free-to-play route is viable, and that's good. Now, I don't think that you should be able to get everything in the entire game if you're free-to-play, because that kind of ruins account diversity. That kind of makes you... You know, if everybody gets everything, it's like The Incredibles. If everybody's special, nobody is, right? Free-to-play players should still have to pick and choose, like, oh, I want this guy from this patch and this guy from this patch, right? That's good. That's why I think a lot of gacha games should have roadmaps. They don't. That's why we all look at leaks, and thankfully, Hoyo versus Security Team is about the worst thing in human history, so we're going to see every character that's coming out probably till 5.0 in Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact, but it is what it is. I think right now they have a good thing going, and I think PGR will be pretty good with handling the gacha for this game, from my perspective, but I'll adjust that as we go.
It really makes sense, and that's why I personally wasn't too irked about it being like Genshin Impact. But a lot, and I mean a lot, of people detest the system. So let's look at what 𝗪𝗛𝗏 suggested. 𝗪𝗛𝗏 suggested that we keep the 50-50 system, which is the system where if you don't get the character that you want at 90 pulls, you have a guaranteed chance again after another 90 pulls. But then instead, what he then caveated it with is, if you've never gotten this character before, so if it's the first time that the character is running, you have 100% chance to get that character on the first try. And then if you want to get more copies of the character, which are called sequences, you will then have to deal with a 50-50 system. I actually like that because it's
no you like that. Fortunately, it's not about what you like. It's about making fucking money. They're not going to do that because that de-incentivized whales so fucking much. And the other thing is, because these other dumb fucks have justified this system in the other games, Kuro Games has no reason to make it better, right? Because they have the scapegoat. Oh, well, you like it in Genshin, so it's fine.
It's like dangling a carrot in front of the free-to-play players who can then farm up, get their 90 pulls, and then get their character. Now, one way that Kuro Games can then incentivize people to go for more sequences of that character is by including one part of their kits that could make them even better than they already are at sequence 1. And now, if you have to go for sequence 1, you have the potential to waste 270 wishes on that banner alone, which means that you have to spend a bit more money for some people, or if you actually save enough for that, you can go for sequence 1. But most people, especially if they are very good characters coming in between patches, will not be able to save up that many points. I like the idea. I like the idea a lot. Let me know your thoughts about this system down below.
Terrible.
And let's look at other people's comments on the gacha.
I think they should just give everything for free. That's what I think. And then I think the whales should have a system where they can just give the company money if they want. That way, free-to-plays can get everything for free.
Pay.
And then the whales can still support the company. Right? That just makes sense. That just won't work. Like, that literally just won't work. Like, whales need to be able to feel better than other players. That's how these companies make their money. They need to make their whales have the ability to just say, yo, like, they need to be able to make free-to-play players feel like shit by spending money, right? That's important. Okay, you can't de-incentivize whales from whaling. That's just not how it works.
Editing more than 10, I just wanted to preface everything I've already said previously by saying that I haven't played any other gacha games apart from Genshin Impact. So
now this makes sense.
I'm not used to any other kinds of rates and any other kinds of pity and all of that. So I personally do not know if there are better systems out there that are more financially profitable than others. So do not take my word as law, please.
And let's be real. Let's just be glad it's not the Fate Grand Order summoning system.
And with that, let's just get back to the video. One comment that caught my eye was Menteriel's comment about the gacha. Now, he wants the gacha, the weapon gacha in particular, to be replaced. And then instead of the weapon gacha, we can have something like automatons that act as companions. I don't really know about this. Like, in my opinion, instead of having like companions, why not have like...
Everybody's opinion on the weapon systems and the gacha systems are wrong. They are. Okay? And these people just say, I think everything should be free, are the dumbest motherfuckers. They get upvoted on Reddit and they think they're smart. Their tweet gets liked and they think they're smart because they lack the ability to think, what does the company want? They only think what the player wants. When you ask things that are only good for players and not good for the company, they're not going to happen. You have to consider what is a W for the company and the players. When you can make that happen, then you can ask for changes. But the company isn't just going to think, yeah, let's just make our profits lower by 40%.
Like maybe a 6-star echo that we have to gacha.
Not to mention, you want this company to make money. Because if the company doesn't make money, they're not going to update your fucking game. So it is beneficial for your company to make more money.
Therefore, if we absolutely must remove the weapon gacha, I have no problem with the weapon gacha, but...
It's really that simple, and I'm going to skip past the gacha section, okay? It's very simple. Just give us enough currency, right, to where a free-to-play player can pick one free 5-star that they want to get with their free-to-play currency every patch or two. and then that's fine. And if they get lucky, maybe they can get one every patch. It's really that simple.
If you look further down from Menterio's comment, you'll actually see where he talked about removing weapon types. So basically, he doesn't want us to...
And before anybody says, but Tectone, how are they going to make money if free-to-play players can do that? Well, they can sell the analytics of player retention to advertisers and companies that want to invest in them by showing the players, look at how much our players are playing the game. Look at how much they're playing. So they do make money if you are to be able to grind a lot and guarantee yourself a free character every patch or two.
Have our characters separated by sword, great sword, orator, gun. Instead, let every character be unique, let them have their own kind of weapon. I really don't think this is something that we should be concerned about, because every game technically always has a set weapon type that every character can have. So even if the game doesn't expressly say that this character is a sword character, or this character is a bow character, or this character is that. Like for example, in PGR, you can't give Lee swords because he's a gun type character.
It makes no sense. It doesn't make sense that every single character is a weapon master. Sure, you might be able to have one character do that, but nah, the characters are all going to feel the same if everybody can use everything, right? It makes sense in game and in lore that this guy got really good at sword masters. There's very little walking blade masters in real world, so it's fun. It makes each character feel different.
I don't see the point of removing weapon types. And I think this is his reasoning behind saying, instead of having a weapon gacha, let's actually have something else to replace that. That being said, even though I don't like his suggestion, I do think there's a way to amend it to make it a lot more fun for a lot of people, which is to remove the weapon classification for characters. So what do I mean? Instead of saying we're not going to have a weapon classification, we're not going to classify characters by weapon. So that means this character must always use a gun, or this character must always use a great sword, or something like that. Why don't we remove that weapon specification, but then we leave the various types of weapons that we have? So we can always have a gun, a sword, a great sword, an orator, etc., etc. But then every character can use any kind of weapon that they want to use. I see this as a way to vary the builds that people can have.
That makes no sense. That literally makes no sense. This guy is the sword master, this guy is a polearm master. And then also that would require the company to make separate animations for every single character, for every single weapon type that players are most likely not going to use. And then you can say, oh, then they have freedom of choice, but let's be real, everybody is just going to use whatever's best on them. People are going to feel worse if the axe build is better than the sword build and all they have is a sword. So it's illusion of choice. It's just bad. It'll make more players feel worse. And a lot of people don't consider that because, well, why bother thinking about anything? Because my Reddit comment got +8 because I said everything should be free and everybody should be allowed to do anything. That's just a lot of wasted work, a lot of wasted time. And I'd rather the company get a character out with one build that you can use, and if you don't like it, pull a different character. It's pretty simple.
Sounds more like something you would find in a fan fiction, and I personally do not even see this coming to fruition at all. But let me know what you guys think about his comments down below. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to end the gacha section here because I don't have enough time to cover everyone's comments. But I do want to highlight one last comment that had something that I actually think would be nice to have, which is to have a 4-star selector in the banner. So it makes it easier to go for a certain 4-star you want. Because I remember one time in Genshin Impact when I absolutely wanted to get Hazel, but I could not, and I didn't want to just keep on pouring wishes into...
Well, that's what the company wants you to do. Right. That's what the company wants you to do, though.
The banner and risk winning a 50-50 for a 5-star character that I didn't want. So having a 4-star selector would actually be very, very nice. So since we don't have the time to go through everyone's comments, I'll just...
Now, I will say one of the worst things ever for gacha system is the no pity force. That shit drives me insane. Are they going to change it? No, probably not. But it would be nice. But currently China's okay with it, which means us people in the United States, our opinion does not matter.
Flash a few on screen that were actually very, very nice. And from here, let's move on to the endgame content. When it comes to endgame content, a lot of people weren't really satisfied with what we got in CBT1. Now in CBT1, for those of you who don't know, we had a gameplay mode that was very, very similar to 𝗧𝗪𝗜𝗧𝗪𝗑.
Okay, I didn't know this.
In the previous video, I was talking about how people wanted something like a roguelike mode, a roguelite.
I don't think I need a roguelike or a roguelite mode at all. I'm kind of getting annoyed of the choices. I kind of just want a mode that gets harder, but if I play better, I can clear it more. I don't really need that.
We didn't get that in CBT1. So when I looked through the official Reddit,
but I don't think I require
what people wanted to say about Endgame, there were a lot of people who made a lot of suggestions. I'm going to highlight one suggestion that actually sounds very, very cool to me. And it's this comment by this user. Now, I don't know how to pronounce this user's name, so I don't want to try. It's about a gameplay mode from Wuthering. And when I look at the wiki with the description of what he wants from it, the more I look at it, the more it looks very, very cool. For those of you who've played PGR, I think this is quite similar to what we have in Norman, but it's a little tweak. The short form of this gameplay mode is basically just an endless survivor. When you start you will be in a room where your life support is consistently going down. When your life support reaches 0, you die. And an endless amount of monsters and enemies are going to keep attacking you.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
The more enemies you kill, the more chances you have of surviving for longer. And of course, over time, your enemies get harder and harder.
Now, this would have to be capped. This would unironically have to be capped. Because if it's not capped... This isn't capped that people have to play for forever. And people don't play gacha games to be hardcore and play 24/7. All successful gacha games are incredibly casual that you can take your own pace. This is good for fun mode or one that gives rewards, but you can only do it X times per week.
I think it's actually a very, very good gameplay mode. It tests both your skill and technically it's also still a DPS check for most people, since sometimes you can have multiple enemies and sometimes you can have just one single enemy. At least that's how I would want to see it in Wuthering Waves. So I think this is actually a very, very good gameplay mode to have. And another comment actually suggested that we have a gameplay mode similar to Norman. Now, for those of you who don't know what Norman is,
I don't know what that is.
Norman is basically a stage-by-stage kind of event where you keep on going from room to room, killing enemies, and enemies keep getting harder and harder and harder to beat with varying conditions. So you can have a condition where your health is draining consistently. You can have a mode where your enemy has a lot of resistance to a certain kind of attack or a certain kind of character or a certain kind.
I think that these suggestions are very realistic for Wuthering Waves, because I do believe that that's what this game is trying to be. So I think asking for these very hardcore modes is very realistic, but there's a certain way to do it where you don't want to overwhelm players with too many things that you can do, that you have to do all the time. Because people want a hardcore game that you can play casually, which is what I think I believe that's what Wuthering Waves is trying to fill as a niche.
And a weapon, etc., etc.
Because the combat, it blows Genshin out of the water. It's not even close. It's not even close. Like, it blows Genshin out of the water. It also obliterates Zenless Zone Zero. However, Zenless Zone Zero, aesthetic-wise, it obliterates Wuthering Waves. Like, I'm not kidding you, man. Like, even Nicole with her nerfed titties is still hotter than any character in this game. So, it's really gonna see, is it about aesthetics or is it about gameplay for who's really gonna win the battle of Wuthering Waves versus Zenless Zone Zero.
It's a very, very good endgame modes that I think we should actually consider in Wuthering Waves CBT 2. Will they?
Because even watching it looks so good. Like, that just looks fun to watch.
One more.
Like, that is gonna be a really good stream game because it looks so aesthetically pleasing the way that it fights.
Game here, and let's move from here and now talk about the open world, shall we? Now, when it comes to the open world, one comment I saw, not too frequently, but I did think it was quite interesting, was a comment about the interaction with characters in the world. They were talking about how it's weird how some objects that you would think would be affected by the characters, like boxes, should be moved around when a character walks by them, chairs should be knocked around, things should be able to be breakable, all of that kind of thing.
No, you don't need that.
And yet these things were not actually doable in most games, and they didn't really like that. Personally,
that just adds a lot of load to the game, and it'll just make updates be bigger. It really doesn't matter. It's gonna lag out your fucking game. It's not necessary. Sure, it's cool. It's fine if it was a console game. It's a phone game. We don't need fucking object interactivity in a fucking mobile game. It's fine. Like, are you going there to move around chairs and pots, or are you there to fucking kill God? Like, just ask yourself that question.
Don't care, but I do.
All the resources should be going into making sure that you have a crisp, clean fighting experience versus these demons and fucking monsters that you fight.
You know, there are people who care about these kinds of things because, according to them, it breaks the immersion if you're not able to do these kinds of things.
No, it doesn't.
Personally,
your immersion's fine. You're just a pussy.
I don't see people going out of their way consistently to just check whether this object can be broken and all that kind of thing. But for explorers and exploration rewards, I do think it's a nice idea to have more interactable objects in the open world. Another comment that I heard a lot was adding parkour challenges. So instead of
we don't need that,
having a lot of challenges that were similar to what we have in Genshin Impact, why not, since we already have a parkour system, why not have parkour open world challenges where you have to use your parkour skills to get to a certain goal and get rewarded for that?
I mean, we probably will get that, but I don't think we need that.
I actually very much like this comment. And then there was one other comment that I saw that I actually think was very, very cool.
Don't get me wrong. I think it'd be fun if it was implemented. Do I think that we need it? No, I don't. I really don't. But it could be fun.
Which is to implement parkour with some monsters in the open world, like bosses. Now, I personally don't want this to be something that happens every single time you fight a certain monster. Or maybe it can, maybe for one monster or the other, but I really don't think that's
I don't know
necessary.
what the this boss is, but he looks
maybe
insane.
The first time you fight it, you can go through the parkour. Basically, the way I envision it is more like you're fighting the enemy on one floor, you beat the enemy to a certain amount of health, it runs away, and then it starts throwing things at you, and you have to use your parkour skills to dodge, while at the same time trying to get closer to the enemy in order to be able to kill it.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think that'd be cool if they implemented it that way. I personally don't think I need anything else for the combat because it's so dynamic already with like the parry and the dodge system. It's very beautiful. I don't think we need more than that, but if that just seems like waffling and you're losing the plot a little bit, but every now and then I suppose it'd be fine. But I feel like when people play the game, they'll see that we don't need these Mickey Mouse things. We just want the bosses to become more complex, and the bosses are already quite complex. I think it's going to be a fucking banger game, boys.
That is actually something that in my head looks cool AF, and it's actually something that people can make a lot of content for on YouTube, showing how they did this and they did that and they did that and they did this, all that kind of a thing. Really, there are a lot of comments here, and if I go through every single comment in the official Reddit thread, this video will be extremely very, very long, and I don't like my videos being longer than 15 minutes. So I'm going to end off the video here. If you want to check out other people's comments about what they want to see.
So this video makes me very happy because almost everything that was asked for this video, also Mordant, great video. If you guys want to go subscribe to this guy's channel, go for it. This video was great because if these are the complaints that people are asking for, and the change people are asking for, none of those are going to happen. Yeah, the Gacha system will not be changed at all. It makes me glad that all of the things that people are asking to be changed are unreasonable. And there's not anything truly jarring that needs to be changed. So, looks to me like Wuthering Waves is going to be good. And I feel like people just really need to understand to control their wants and needs and understand what's a reasonable ask and what's not a reasonable ask. But I think Wuthering Waves is shaping up to be a very good game. And I am definitely going to play the out of it when it comes out, 100%. Thanks for liking, commenting, subscribing.